With
the lives of lost ones on his heart, Max Glauben recites the Kaddish. It's a Jewish prayer of mourning, something Glauben's been doing for most of his life. When you recite the Kaddish, what do you think about?
But it's just glorification of God, and I see 1 million people that perished, and their voices are being heard.
Max is a mourner and a storyteller, sharing the darkest chapter of his life, surviving the Holocaust as much as he can.
And while we are speaking right now with modern technology, maybe the souls of my family is floating right above us and putting some of the words into my mouth of what to tell you and enhancing my vision.
This week brings a significant anniversary for Max. April 23rd marks 75 years since his liberation from the Holocaust. But once again, his life is restricted, this time by COVID-19.
We are right now in confinement, which kind of brings back a lot of memories.
It's his story and it's true, and he hasn't forgotten any of the facts.
Jory Epstein has listened to most of Max's memories and written them into a 29-chapter manuscript.
Max was just 15 when the Nazis murdered his mom, dad, and brother.
She's hopeful to secure a publisher soon, so Max gets to see his journey shared as a book. Right now, his story is as relevant as ever.
His story represents that hardship makes us stronger, and the more we can figure out a way to take our challenges and turn them into strengths, the better off we'll be.
And I see the pile.
The story is available to Max in color at any time. Closing his eyes, he flashes back to the moment his family was broken apart for the final time at a concentration camp.
And I bring back the time that we were offloaded a boxcar in Majdanek, when I saw the last steps of my mom and my little brother.
He's transported back to the moment he discovered his father had been murdered.
Only his shoes were left on the spot where he lay, and I don't know how he was killed.
At age 15, just 3 weeks after his imprisonment at labor camp, he was now an orphan. Max realized the Glauben namesake now lay with him and him alone.
A nightmare that started when Max was 11 years old would take him through 5 different concentration camps.
But in the camps, nightmares weren't confined to bedtime. I would say they were dreams that were bad, Max said, but what you got up to was worse. It was like a continuation of misery.
On April 23, 1945, Max Glauben realized his liberation from the Holocaust, setting out to build a new life.
So what the liberation did, out of 1 came 25 and replenished with goodness what was lost in the Holocaust.
Out of the nightmare, he chased after the American dream, coming to the United States as an orphan, serving in the U.S. Army, meeting his wife Frida, and starting a family. The Glauben family has now grown to include 3 children, 7 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren.
1, 2, 3.
And Max has used his second lifetime to shine light on the darkness of his first.
We built something that we never imagined was possible.
Helping launch the Dallas Holocaust and Human Rights Museum. Inside lives a groundbreaking interactive biography of Max that allows museum goers to ask him questions about his story. And since 2005, he has returned to the concentration camp sites 14 times, leading March of the Living trips. each bringing tour groups of more than 10,000 people from around the world to witness where Max survived the Holocaust. Each trip, he steps back onto the grounds of Majdanek, where his mother and brother were sent to the gas chambers. Each time, he makes his way to a mausoleum that holds 7 tons of human ashes. Each time, he recites the Kaddish.
I look at the ashes, the 7 tons of ashes, and I wonder how many of owners of the ashes, how many diseases they could have cured.
In 2019, Max brought his granddaughter Haley to the site.
When I first walked up and saw the ashes, it was a moment where I thought, you know, that's my whole family there except for him. It's horrifying to think that had I been born 50 years earlier, 40 years earlier, that would be me in there.
This week, Max was planning to spend the 75th anniversary of his liberation from the Holocaust back overseas on his 15th March of the Living trip, but because of COVID-19, the trip was canceled. Expecting to spend the day at home with family, Max ventures outside to find an incredible surprise. A drive-by procession celebrating him and his story of survival. Did you feel tears coming on?
I felt the tears, but they were laid over with laughter and jokes.
How much love do you feel right now?
I feel I'm full of love. That's all that exists around here.
As we live through another hard and uncertain time in our history, Max's advice is simple but powerful. After all, it comes from the ultimate survivor. How do you move forward when you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Never, 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 never give up. Enjoy life and try to treat everybody that you are surrounded with the way you'd like to be treated.
In Dallas, Jeff Kolb, Fox 4 News.